The endless runner subgenre, with its non-stop motion and insta-death mechanics, has shot to prominence in recent years, with the Switch building quite the collection. With big hitters such as Runner 3, as well as smaller but equally as fun indie titles like Chameleon Run, Kid Trip, Night Terrors and Jack and Jill DX. FutureGrind is a new release for the Nintendo Switch that borrows some of these mechanics and fuses them with the stunt bike action of something like the Trials series, with a nice futuristic aesthetic and an interesting flip mechanic also thrown in for good measure. Is it worth your time? I'm Glenn for Switchup. Thank you to the developers for the review copy, and now let's find out. As just mentioned, although the gameplay is most like an endless runner in that you do not directly control your bike and cannot slow down or stop, it also incorporates stunts and tricks. You partake in the future's most favourite pastime, the stunt sport of riding on tracks made of rails that are positioned up in the air. You work for a rep, with more reps and therefore more tracks becoming available to you as you become more famous. There is more to the story than there first seems though, and this will unfold through personal messages that you receive as you start to play. This will eventually lead to some extra challenges being unlocked. You must navigate the rails, avoiding gaps and pitfalls, and survive the track to reach the finish line. However, this is just part of the story. Your sponsors want to see more than just survival, and you must rack up scores by performing stunts such as the hand grind, the push grind, as well as backflips and front flips to build combos and earn major scores, ensuring that you move on to bigger and better tracks. You move along the rails on one wheel of your bike. The wheel you are using must be of the same colour as the rail that you are currently riding. Touching a pink rail with a blue wheel, for example, will cause your bike to crash, and this means that you must restart the level. In order to do this successfully, you will need to flip your bike to ensure that the correct wheel is making contact with the appropriately coloured rail. White rails are neutral and can be touched by any colour wheel, however doing so will reset any combo meter that you may have built up. It leads to a very satisfying risk-reward system when trying to build your score. Do you use the safety of a white rail and reset your combo, or do you attempt the more dangerous double jump onto the next coloured rail? As you progress, new bikes will be unlocked, and pleasingly, rather than this just being for cosmetic purposes or each bike offering slight but barely noticeable statistical differences, they completely change the gameplay. For example, the first bike you unlock has two different colour wheels, meaning that you can now grind rails of each of these colours, therefore increasing your score. Or another example is a bike that has wheels of a different size, therefore affecting the balance as you ride, and meaning that this is something you will need to take into consideration. In terms of the gameplay modes available to you, each level that you play begins with a quick score attack mode. Your objective here is to basically survive the track while accumulating the highest score you possibly can. Completing this will then open up a couple of new objectives for you to try, such as completing a 720-degree front flip or avoiding all of the white rails, whilst again completing the course. I really like how the score attack is always first, and if you are anything like me, your initial run through will land you with a fairly pitiful score as you focus much more on survival. However, after trying and passing the challenges for that track and learning a couple of little pointers from this, you will most likely go back to the score attack mode and improve your score tenfold. Earning those gold trophies is very satisfying, and once the gold is unlocked, there's always the platinum to go for too. New gameplay mechanics are introduced as you go, including colour zones for example, which will change the colour of your wheels as you pass them, or balloons that you must bounce from, again ensuring that you use the correct colour for each balloon. This again just adds new strategy to the game and completely changes the way that you approach certain tracks. Then there are other considerations such as your first front or back flips of a level being worth double points, and it's here that you really start to realise that if you want those top scores, there's quite a lot to consider. The game is tough, and certain stages, particularly the challenges, may have you stumped for a while. You may even find yourself dropping the occasional F-bomb when you've smashed into a wall for the 1000th time, but I will give credit where it's due, as the developers have made some very clever decisions to keep you invested during these times. First is the instant restart button. Pressing X will instantly and seamlessly restart the level, perfect for those times when a crash is inevitable and it saves you having to sit through the death animation over and over again. It keeps the one more try hook ticking along very nicely indeed, I must say. I also really appreciate how the music does not start again when you do restart a level. It's just a small thing, but again it shows the developers were aware that in a game where you will be restarting often, and you will be, by the way, they did not want players to have any extra frustrations along the way. In addition to this, there is also an assist mode available that reduces the game's difficulty, with the caveat being that your high scores will not be saved. Again, this is a very nice inclusion that will not bother anyone who isn't interested. In fact, the only reason I noticed it was when I paused the game one time, but it will assist those that need a little help and ensure that they get the maximum enjoyment from their purchase. Controls are incredibly responsive, although it may take you a few runs initially to get used to them. The bike is very sensitive, so you just need to acclimatise to how much pressure you need to apply to the stick in order to get the movements you want. Within 10 or 15 minutes though, they will become second nature, and from this point on they will be your ally in your pursuit of those high scores. The A button allows you to jump, holding it down lets you jump further, and you also have a double jump available. Whilst you could theoretically jump through large parts of a level to reach the end, this will severely diminish your chances of a high score. Whilst in the air, pushing forward or pulling backwards on the stick will see you perform front or back flips, and there is a Grindpedia available in-game that shows you all of the various moves that are available to you. Gameplay is difficult but extremely addicting and receives 17 out of 20, whilst the controls receive 18 out of 20. The graphics use a low poly style seen in other Switch games such as Horizon Chase Turbo and State of Mind. There are some truly beautiful backgrounds, ranging from sunny hills and valleys to high-tech urban streets at dusk to dilapidated and decrepit industrial areas. The use of colour really is beautiful, and there is definitely something about this graphical style that truly allows the colours to shine through. Static images really do not do them justice. The foregrounds are full of neon rails which really stand out even against the colourful backgrounds. It reminds me a little bit of a more modern version of Super Nintendo gem Uni Rally or Uni Racers, depending on which part of the world you are from. It is particularly effective because the levels seem to be spherical, in that you can see in the far distance the remainder of the track as it appears to bend towards you. Perhaps they could have made a little bit more of the setting. I do like the simplicity of the backgrounds against the strong neon colours of the bike and the rails, but I'm an absolute sucker for a cyberpunk setting and would have loved to have seen how much more they could have elaborated on this theme. That being said, that's just a personal opinion, and visuals receive 17 out of 20. The audio is pretty much what you would expect it to be, bearing in mind both the aesthetic and the subject matter. It has a high octane techno beat that courses through the level as you play. There are a few different tracks, and they all fit the theme of the level they accompany well. It isn't anything extraordinary and doesn't quite please the senses in the same way that the graphics do, but it is appropriate and never annoying. When playing in handheld mode, there is a very subtle use of HD rumble. For every button press you receive a tiny little bit of feedback, not enough for you to even necessarily notice at first, but it's just a clever little way of keeping the immersion as you play. Audio receives 15 out of 20. FutureGrind costs £15.29 or $19.99, and for this price you are getting around 30 levels, each with a score attack mode and 2 challenges to try as well, and a few bonus challenges thrown in. I would hazard a guess, based on my playtime so far, that it would take around maybe 6 to 8 hours to complete all of the challenges, but chasing those platinum trophies will take you a good while longer than that. There is no 2-player mode, which is a shame, as I could see this working very well in local split screen. There also do not appear to be online leaderboards, which again is unfortunate. If high score chasing is your thing, you will definitely get your money's worth, and value receives 16 out of 20. To conclude, FutureGrind is a fast, stylish and extremely addicting high score chaser that will get the blood pumping and the fingers twitching. It takes the core elements from an endless runner to shred your nerves, adds the score chasing parts of a stunt bike game and blends them together with a very appealing aesthetic. The lack of multiplayer or online leaderboards hurts the package a little, but what is here is still very solid. FutureGrind receives a Switchup score of 83%. Thank you as always everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Is this a game that you're thinking about picking up? Let us know in the comments below. Please do consider subscribing if you haven't done so already for all things Switch all the time. And just a quick shout out to all of our Patreons for their support. Thank you very much. We really do appreciate this. Take it easy everyone, and as always, happy gaming.